the email appeared in my inbox like a digital hand grenade. Effective immediately. You will be reassigned to reception duties. 16 years at Zenith Dynamics, and they'd stripped me of my VP title with a 3-sentence email. No warning, no explanation, just corporate execution, swift and merciless. Little did they know, they hadn't demoted me. They'd given me front-row seats to their downfall and the blueprint to take everything they loved. I still remember the taste of copper in my mouth as I read those words. Demoted from Vice President of Operations to Receptionist, my corner office with the city view exchanged for a tiny desk by the entrance, answering phones and sorting mail like some glorified secretary. The same entrance where I'd soon be greeting the board members who had unanimously approved my reassignment. The same board members who would later beg for mercy. My name is Morgan Harlow, and this is how I turned the most humiliating moment of my professional life into the greatest comeback in corporate history. The morning after receiving the email, I arrived early, 6:30 a.m., a full hour before anyone else would show up. I needed time to move my personal belongings from my soon-to-be former office and process what had happened. The security guard, Hector, gave me a sympathetic nod as I swiped my badge. Word travels fast. Morning, Ms. Harlow. Sorry about... He trailed off, unsure how to finish the sentence. Don't be, Hector. Nothing stays the same forever. I managed a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Change can be a good thing. The elevator ride to the 22nd floor felt eternal. When I reached my office, my former office, I noticed the nameplate had already been removed. Efficient. I pushed open the door to find 4 cardboard boxes neatly stacked in the center of the room. My diplomas had been taken off the walls. My awards were gone from the credenza. Someone had already packed up 16 years of my professional life. I sat in my leather chair one last time, running my fingers along the armrests. This chair had seen me through countless late nights, breakthrough strategies, and challenging decisions that had helped Zenith Dynamics grow from a promising startup to a Fortune 500 company. I'd been 30 when I joined, young, ambitious, relentless. Now at 46, I was being discarded like yesterday's newspaper. The cardboard boxes contained my belongings, meticulously organized. Whoever had packed them had been thorough. Almost respectful, if the act itself hadn't been so disrespectful. I left 3 boxes by the door to be moved to storage and took only one, the essentials, to my new office. The reception desk was horseshoe-shaped, positioned directly in front of the glass entrance doors. It was spotless, with a brand new computer, headset, and phone system. At least they'd given me decent equipment for my fall from grace. I placed my single box underneath the desk and began familiarizing myself with the phone system. By 7:45 a.m., employees began trickling in. The first few didn't notice me. They were too busy with their phones or coffee cups. Then came the double takes, the whispers, the awkward averted gazes when I caught them staring. A few of the more decent ones stopped to express their shock or offer condolences disguised as encouragement. Morgan, is this temporary? Morgan, there must be some mistake. This is ridiculous. Have you spoken to Samuel? Samuel Davis, our CEO, the man who'd recruited me personally 16 years ago, the man who'd promised me partnership, the man who now couldn't look me in the eye as he strode through the lobby at 8:30 a.m. sharp. Good morning, Samuel, I called out, my voice steady and professional. He faltered mid-stride, then continued walking without acknowledging me. I smiled at his retreating back. In that moment, I made a decision. This wasn't the end of my story at Zenith. It was just the beginning of a very different chapter. The receptionist role, as it turned out, was the perfect vantage point to observe the inner workings of Zenith Dynamics. I saw who came and went. I overheard conversations. I was copied on emails I never would have seen as VP. I was invisible, yet omnipresent. Within a week, I'd established a new routine. I arrived at 6:30 a.m. to review the previous day's visitor logs and prepare the daily schedule. I greeted everyone with the same professional courtesy, regardless of how they treated me. I mastered the phone system, learned every extension by heart, and memorized the voices of our most important clients. Amelia Jordan took over my former position. She was 32, ambitious, and completely out of her depth. I could tell by the panic in her eyes whenever certain clients called. She'd been a mid-level manager in our Seattle office before this promotion, a position that hadn't prepared her for the complexities of running operations for the entire company. Morgan. She approached my desk 3 weeks after her promotion, her voice lowered to avoid being overheard. I can't find the Hartman file. The meeting's in an hour, and Samuel is going to kill me if I don't have those numbers. I could have lied, could have claimed ignorance, could have watched her crash and burn, but that wasn't my plan. Check the shared drive under Projects Archive 2023 Q4. The Hartman acquisition was finalized in December, so it won't be in the active projects folder. Relief washed over her face. Thank you. I don't know why they didn't give me a proper handover. That makes 2 of us, Amelia. I smiled thinly. Good luck with the meeting. Over the next 2 months, Amelia came to me regularly for help. Each time, I provided exactly what she needed. Not because I liked her, though she was one of the few who treated me with respect despite my demotion, but because every time I helped her, she owed me. And debts could be collected when the time was right. My new position also gave me access to the visitor log and the ability to schedule meetings. I started noticing patterns. Samuel had been meeting regularly with representatives from Horizon Partners, a private equity firm known for facilitating acquisitions, often hostile ones. These meetings weren't on his official calendar, and he always instructed me to keep them confidential. One Tuesday afternoon, I overheard Samuel on the phone as he waited for his Horizon contact to arrive. We need to move quickly. The board is getting nervous about the numbers. Yes, I understand the timeline. No, there won't be any pushback from the leadership team. I've made sure of that. He noticed me listening and abruptly ended the call. That evening, I stayed late, using my still active administrative credentials to access financial reports. What I found confirmed my suspicions. Zenith was in trouble. Our last 3 quarters showed declining revenues, and our flagship product was losing market share to competitors. The company Samuel and I had built together was being prepared for sale, likely a sale that would result in massive layoffs and restructuring. The next morning, I called in sick for the first time in my 16 years at Zenith. Instead of going to work, I met with Catherine Bennett, a former colleague who had left Zenith 5 years earlier to start her own investment firm. Morgan Harlow, she said, embracing me as I entered her office. It's been too long, though I must say, I was surprised to get your call. Desperate times, desperate measures, I replied, accepting the espresso she offered. I heard about your reassignment. The entire industry is buzzing about it. No one can understand why Samuel would sideline his most valuable executive. That's partly why I'm here. I took a sip of espresso. I think I know the reason, and I need your help. For the next hour, I outlined what I'd discovered and my suspicions about Samuel's plans. Catherine listened intently, occasionally taking notes. So you believe Samuel is preparing Zenith for a sale to Horizon, and he demoted you because you would have opposed it? Precisely. I built half of Zenith's client relationships. I know where all the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. I would have asked too many questions. Questions the board might have started asking too. Catherine leaned back in her chair. What exactly are you proposing, Morgan? I want to save Zenith from being gutted by Horizon, and I want my career back. To do that, I need capital, significant capital. She raised an eyebrow. You want to make a counter-offer? Buy Zenith yourself? Not exactly. I want to secure enough backing to acquire a controlling interest in Zenith's main competitor, Apex Technologies. From there, we can orchestrate a merger that would benefit both companies while blocking Horizon's play. Catherine whistled. That's ambitious, even for you. Apex is valued at what? $300 million. 322 million of last quarter, but their stock has fallen 15% since then due to management issues. They're vulnerable. And you think you can turn them around? I smiled. I know I can. What's more, I can use Apex's resources to save Zenith from itself. Catherine studied me for a long moment. You'll need more than my investment firm's backing. You'll need a consortium. I've already made a list of potential investors, people who trust my track record, people who owe me favors. And what about Samuel? He won't just stand by while you orchestrate this. Samuel made a crucial mistake, I said, my voice hardening. He left me in a position where I'm invisible, yet see everything. I know his next 3 moves before he makes them. Catherine smiled. You always were the best strategist I knew. Let me make some calls. Over the next 4 weeks, I lived a double life. By day, I was Morgan the receptionist, efficient, helpful, invisible. By night, I was building a financial coalition to execute my plan. Catherine introduced me to key investors, and my reputation did the rest. Within a month, we had secured commitments for $200 million, enough to acquire a significant stake in Apex Technologies. During this time, I continued gathering intelligence at Zenith. Samuel's meetings with Horizon became more frequent. Amelia struggled increasingly with her role, coming to me almost daily for guidance. The board seemed oblivious to what was happening, trusting Samuel implicitly as they had for years. Then came the opportunity I'd been waiting for. Apex's CEO announced his retirement, triggering a 12% drop in their stock price due to uncertainty about succession. That same day, I received an invitation to schedule a board meeting at Zenith, an emergency session with only Samuel and the board members present. I knew this would be when Samuel presented the Horizon deal. It was time to accelerate my plan. That evening, I met with Catherine and our investor group. We need to move now, I told them. Tomorrow, I'll approach Apex with our offer. We need to have a deal in principle before Zenith's board meeting next week. Are you sure about the timing? Catherine asked. We might get better terms if we wait for Apex's stock to fall further. We don't have that luxury. Once Samuel presents the Horizon deal to the board, things will move quickly. We need to be in position before then. The next day, I called in sick again. Instead of staying home, I met with Apex's outgoing CEO, Richard Winters, and their board chair, Elizabeth Crane. I'd worked with both during my time at Zenith, sometimes as partners, sometimes as competitors, but always with mutual respect. I must say, Morgan, when you requested this meeting, I was intrigued, Richard said as we sat in Apex's boardroom. I've been following your situation at Zenith with interest. As have I, Elizabeth added. I never understood Samuel's decision. It seemed counterproductive. That's one word for it, I replied. But I'm not here to discuss my employment situation. I'm here to discuss Apex's future and how I might be part of it. I presented our proposal. Our investor group would acquire a 40% stake in Apex. I would step in as CEO upon Richard's retirement, and we would immediately begin working toward a merger with Zenith that would benefit shareholders of both companies while preserving jobs and product lines. Richard and Elizabeth exchanged glances. This is unexpected, Elizabeth said, but intriguing. Your knowledge of both companies would be invaluable. What makes you think Zenith would agree to this merger? Richard asked. Samuel has never been interested in combining forces before. Samuel won't have a choice, I said confidently. Once your board accepts our offer and announces me as the incoming CEO, Zenith's stock will react. Positively, I believe, given my reputation in the industry. This will complicate Samuel's discussions with Horizon and give us leverage to approach Zenith's board directly with our merger proposal. After 2 hours of discussion and negotiation, we had a tentative agreement. The final terms would need approval from Apex's full board, but Richard and Elizabeth were confident they could secure the votes. We'll need to move quickly, I emphasized. Ideally. We announce this deal and my appointment simultaneously, and we do it before Zenith's board meeting next Thursday. That's an aggressive timeline, Elizabeth noted, but doable. We'll call an emergency board session for Monday. As I left Apex's offices, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The pieces were falling into place faster than I'd anticipated. Now I needed to ensure that Samuel remained unaware of my maneuvers until it was too late for him to counter them. I returned to work the following day, maintaining my facade as the efficient but unremarkable receptionist. Samuel barely acknowledged me as he rushed past my desk for another secretive meeting. Amelia stopped by, looking frazzled. "Morgan, I need your help again. The quarterly forecast models aren't matching up with the actuals, and I can't figure out why." I resisted the urge to tell her that I designed those forecast models, that I could spot the discrepancy in seconds. Instead, I said, "Email me the spreadsheets. I'll look at them during lunch." "You're a lifesaver," she said, relief evident in her voice. "I don't know why I just—" "Don't worry about it, Amelia. We all need help sometimes." The weekend passed in a blur of conference calls and document reviews. By Sunday night, our investor group had finalized the terms of our offer for Apex. Catherine's legal team had prepared all necessary paperwork for Monday's board meeting. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Monday morning, I arrived at Zenith at my usual time, 6:30 a.m. I performed my normal routine, all while knowing that in just a few hours, Apex's board would be voting on our proposal. By afternoon, the business world might be buzzing with news of my appointment as Apex's new CEO. And Samuel would finally understand what he had set in motion by demoting me. At 11:42 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. "Board approved unanimously. Announcement at 2 p.m. Congratulations, CEO." I allowed myself a small smile as I continued answering Zenith's phones and directing visitors. At 1:45 p.m., I took my scheduled lunch break and went to the building's cafe on the ground floor. I wanted to be away from my desk when the news broke. At exactly 2:15 p.m., financial news sites began reporting the story. Apex Technologies announces CEO succession plan, industry veteran Morgan Harlow to take helm. The cafe's TV, perpetually tuned to business news, displayed my professional headshot from before my demotion as analysts discussed the implications of my appointment. "This is a significant coup for Apex." One commentator said, "Morgan Harlow is widely respected for her operational expertise and strategic vision. The question now is how Zenith Dynamics will respond to losing such a key executive to their main competitor." I sipped my coffee calmly as phones began ringing throughout the cafe. Zenith employees receiving news alerts, reporters calling contacts for comments. The wheels were in motion. At 2:15 p.m., I returned to my reception desk as if nothing had happened. Within minutes, the elevator doors opened and Samuel stormed out, his face flushed with anger. He marched directly to my desk. "My office, now," he hissed. I followed him silently, aware of the eyes watching us from every direction. Once inside his office, he slammed the door. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, turning his tablet toward me to show the news headline. "It appears to be a press release about my new position," I replied calmly. "How long have you been planning this? Were you working for them while still employed here? Do you have any idea of the legal consequences of your actions?" I met his gaze steadily. "I've done nothing illegal or unethical, Samuel. Unlike demoting a senior executive without cause in preparation for selling the company out from under its employees." He paled slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about. Horizon Partners, the meetings that aren't on your official calendar, the financial restructuring to make Zenith more attractive for acquisition. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" Samuel sank into his chair. "You don't understand the pressures we're facing. The market is changing. The board is demanding results." "The board is demanding results because you've been mismanaging this company for the past 2 years." I countered, "The same board that will be very interested to learn about your secret negotiations with Horizon." "What do you want, Morgan?" he asked, his voice suddenly tired. "Nothing from you. My resignation will be on your desk within the hour. I start at Apex next Monday." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Samuel? You might want to prepare the board for some unexpected news at Thursday's meeting. I have a feeling the Horizon deal won't be the only item on the agenda." I walked out of his office with my head held high, ignoring the stares and whispers that followed me. At my desk, I drafted a brief, professional resignation letter, effective immediately. I packed my single box of belongings, said goodbye to Hector at security, and left Zenith Dynamics for what I thought might be the last time. The next morning, my face was on the cover of the Wall Street Journal's business section. The article detailed my appointment as Apex's CEO and included speculation about what this meant for both Apex and Zenith. Industry analysts were quoted expressing surprise at Zenith's failure to retain me, with one noting, "Demoting Morgan Harlow to a receptionist role may go down as one of the most short-sighted executive decisions in recent corporate history." By Wednesday, Zenith's stock had fallen 8% while Apex's had risen 15%. The market was rendering its verdict on Samuel's leadership and my potential. That afternoon, I received a call from Elizabeth Crane. "Morgan, we need to accelerate our timeline. I've been contacted by 3 members of Zenith's board. They're concerned about recent developments." "What kind of concerns?" I asked, though I could guess. "They've learned about Samuel's discussions with Horizon. They're not pleased about being kept in the dark, and they're very interested in your merger proposal." "How did they learn about our proposal? We haven't made that public yet." Elizabeth chuckled. "Let's just say that Catherine has excellent connections. She may have mentioned our plans to a friend who happens to sit on Zenith's board." I smiled. Catherine had always been good at working behind the scenes. "So, what are you suggesting?" "Join us for tomorrow's call with Zenith's board representatives. We can present the merger proposal directly to them. Bypass Samuel entirely." "I'll be there," I promised. The next day, Thursday, the day of Zenith's scheduled board meeting, I joined Elizabeth and Apex's CFO for a video conference with 3 of Zenith's 7 board members, Jacqueline Reeves, Marcus Patel, and David Goldstein. All were respected industry figures whom I'd worked with during my time at Zenith. "Morgan," Jacqueline began after introductions, "I want to start by saying that many of us were blindsided by your reassignment. It was presented to the board as a mutual decision, part of a larger reorganization strategy." "It was neither mutual nor strategic," I replied. "But that's water under the bridge now. I'm here to discuss a way forward that benefits both Zenith and Apex." For the next hour, we outlined our merger proposal, a true combination of equals that would leverage the strengths of both companies, eliminate redundancies, and create a stronger competitor in the marketplace. The financial projections were compelling, far more attractive than what Horizon was likely offering. "This is impressive," Marcus said when we concluded. "But Samuel is set to present the Horizon deal to the full board this afternoon." "Then you have a choice to make," I replied. "You can sell Zenith to Horizon, who will likely dismantle it for parts. Or you can partner with Apex under my leadership and build something stronger together." "The board will need time to consider both options," David noted. "We cannot make this decision hastily." "Of course," Elizabeth agreed. "But we would appreciate an expedited process. Our offer is time-sensitive." After the call ended, I turned to Elizabeth. "What do you think?" "I think Samuel is in for a very uncomfortable board meeting," she replied with a smile. "And I think you're about to pull off one of the most remarkable corporate comebacks I've ever witnessed." She was right. Later that evening, I received a call from Jacqueline Reeves. "Morgan, the board has voted to explore the merger option with Apex. We've also voted to remove Samuel as CEO, effective immediately." My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. "That's a significant decision. Who will lead Zenith during the transition?" "That's partly why I'm calling. The board would like you to return to Zenith as interim CEO while we work through the merger details with Apex. We believe having you at the helm of both companies during this process would streamline integration planning." I hadn't anticipated this development, but it made strategic sense. "I'd need to discuss this with Apex's board. We're still technically competitors until the merger is finalized." "Of course, but time is of the essence. Samuel has already been escorted from the building, and we need leadership in place." After consulting with Elizabeth and Catherine, I agreed to Jacqueline's proposal. The next morning, just 5 days after being announced as Apex's incoming CEO, I returned to Zenith Dynamics. Not as a receptionist, not even as VP of Operations, but as interim CEO. The security guard did a double take when I walked in. "Ms. Harlow, I wasn't expecting to see you again." I smiled. Life is full of surprises, Hector. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt surreal. When I stepped out, Amelia was waiting, looking uncertain. "Morgan, I heard the news. It's a lot to process." "For everyone," I agreed. "The coming weeks won't be easy. Amelia, we have difficult decisions ahead as we work through this merger, but I want you to know that I value your contributions. Your position is secure." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you. And I'm sorry about before, about taking your job." "You didn't take it, Amelia. It was given to you. There's a difference." I gestured toward my old office, now hers. "Shall we get started? We have a company to save." The next 3 months were among the most challenging of my career. Navigating the merger required diplomatic skills, strategic thinking, and endless patience. There were territorial executives to manage, anxious employees to reassure, and skeptical investors to convince. Samuel didn't go quietly. He filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against Zenith and attempted to rally support from industry contacts to block the merger. But his credibility was damaged by revelations about the secretive Horizon negotiations, and his lawsuit eventually faded away with a modest settlement. 6 months after my demotion to receptionist, I stood at a podium at the New York Stock Exchange, preparing to ring the bell to open trading on the first day of the newly formed Zenith Apex Corporation. Beside me stood Elizabeth Crane, now our board chair, and Catherine Bennett, representing our investor group. "Ready for this?" Catherine whispered as cameras flashed around us. I thought back to that morning 6 months ago. The email in my inbox, the taste of copper in my mouth, the cardboard boxes in my office. I thought of the reception desk, where I'd sat watching, listening, planning. I thought of Samuel's face when he realized what I'd done. "I've been ready for this my entire career," I replied, and reached for the bell. The merger exceeded all financial projections. Zenith Apex's stock rose 22% in the first quarter after the combination, and industry analysts praised the synergies we'd created between the two former competitors. We preserved jobs that would have been lost in the Horizon acquisition, launched innovative new product lines, and established ourselves as the market leader. 1 year to the day after my demotion, I hosted a company-wide town hall meeting. Standing on stage in the auditorium of our headquarters, I looked out at the faces of employees from both former companies, now one unified team. A year ago today, I was demoted to receptionist after 16 years of helping build Zenith Dynamics, I began, causing a ripple of murmurs through the audience. It was meant to be the end of my career here. Instead, it became the beginning of something much bigger than any of us could have imagined. I paused, letting my gaze sweep across the room. I learned something valuable during my brief time answering phones and greeting visitors. I learned that sometimes the most powerful position isn't the one with the corner office or the impressive title. Sometimes, the most powerful position is the one that allows you to see everything while others underestimate you. The room was silent now, everyone hanging on my words. Today, we're announcing record quarterly results and a new expansion that will create 300 additional jobs. We're launching a scholarship program for employees pursuing advanced degrees, and we're implementing the profit-sharing plan that many of you have been requesting for years. Applause erupted, drowning out my next words. I waited for it to subside before continuing. None of this would have been possible without each of you, the people who make this company what it is, not the executives, not the board members, not even the CEO. I smiled. Especially not the receptionist. More laughter and applause. So thank you. Thank you for your trust, your hard work, and your belief in our shared vision. Together, we've turned what could have been a corporate tragedy into a triumph. As I left the stage to a standing ovation, I caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. Amelia, Now our chief operating officer and one of my most trusted lieutenants gave me a knowing smile. She, more than most, understood the journey I'd taken. Later that afternoon, as I sat in my office reviewing acquisition proposals for our next phase of growth, my assistant buzzed me. "Ms. Harlow, there's a Samuel Davis here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment." I paused, considering Samuel, the man who had tried to erase 16 years of my contributions with a 3-sentence email, the man whose short-sighted decision had inadvertently given me the opening to create something far greater than either of us had imagined. "Send him in," I decided. When Samuel entered, he looked older, diminished somehow. His once immaculate suit seemed to hang on his frame, and his confident stride had been replaced by a hesitant shuffle. "Morgan," he said, his voice lacking its former authority. "Thank you for seeing me." "Of course. Please, sit down." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same desk that had once been his. "What can I do for you?" He cleared his throat. "I've been consulting since leaving Zenith. Small companies, mostly. Nothing like what we built here." He glanced around the office. "What you've continued to build." I waited, sensing there was more. "I made a mistake. Morgan, a terrible mistake. I listened to the wrong advisors, made decisions based on fear rather than vision." He met my eyes directly for the first time. "I'm not asking for forgiveness or for my old job back. That ship has sailed. But I do have expertise that could be valuable to Zenith Apex, particularly in emerging markets. I'm asking for a chance to contribute again. A year ago, I might have savored this moment. Samuel Davis, humbled and asking for my help. But the victory had lost its sweetness. In its place was something more complex. Understanding. Leadership is lonely. Decisions have consequences. And sometimes, the people we trust most lead us astray. "We're launching a new division focused on international expansion," I said after a moment. "It's not an executive role, but it would utilize your experience. The team lead position is open." Hope flickered in his eyes. "I'd be interested. Very interested. Send your resume to HR. Mention that we've spoken." I stood, signaling the end of our meeting. "And Samuel, everyone deserves a second chance, even you." After he left, I walked to the window of my office, looking out at the city below. The same view I'd had 16 years ago when I first joined Zenith as an ambitious young executive. The same view I'd lost when I was demoted to receptionist. The same view I'd reclaimed through strategy, patience, and the unwavering belief in my own worth. They had demoted me to receptionist, thinking it would silence me. Instead, it had given me the perspective I needed to see the whole board, every piece, every move, every vulnerability. They had underestimated me, as people often underestimate those they consider beneath them. Their mistake, my opportunity. Now I ran the company I'd helped build, stronger and more successful than ever before. Not because I had sought revenge, though that had certainly been my initial motivation, but because I had turned adversity into advantage, humiliation into strategy, demotion into the ultimate promotion. Sometimes rock bottom is just the beginning. And sometimes the receptionist's desk is the perfect place from which to plan your ascension to the throne.